Hi, I'm Sophia Louisa Lee. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of So Zoom In. Please hit like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. I love bringing you people who are in the creative flow. Today, I'll be speaking with Janet Robin. She's pretty amazing. She has quite a great history. She is definitely a warrior goddess guitarist who's been playing professionally since she was 16. She has won multiple awards and she has performed with recognizable names. She is also a singer and she's just fierce. And I'm so happy to have her on my show.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you? It's been a long time.
It's so great seeing you. I
Likewise.
love, wow, you look fantastic.
Oh gosh, thanks. I didn't really do much with the hair and makeup, but just a little bit here and there. Since the pandemic, I was like, no bra, no makeup.
And you're a rocker. I was like, you're a fierce woman. It's like, what? Dude, I was like checking you out. I was checking you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, dang, girl, you've done all kinds of fierce stuff. I'm like, I'm so glad you're on my show. Thank you so much. Thank you for.
Thank you for having me. I love doing podcasts, and I've done a lot of them, and I think they're really enlightening, and sometimes they can even help people, other artists or things like that. So happy to do whatever I can. Yeah.
First of all, I think you are like a goddess guitarist. Can I say that? It's like you were just like you own it, and you started at such a young age, and
I
you
did.
were like a professional player by 16.
Yes, I got into, well, I mean, I guess you could call it that. I got into a band at 16, an all girl band at 16, called Precious Metal. And that was my first professional band in the sense that we had a studio, we had a studio to work in. We had a producer that was doing demos for us. Up to that point, I was like in garage bands.
How old were you when you started playing?
6.
So what inspired you to do it?
My brother.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I have 2 older brothers, and the middle brother was playing guitar and wanted to take guitar, and I loved music because I was always hearing his music, blasting in his room next to me. And like a 70s child, so like Zeppelin and Deep Purple, Bowie, Beatles, all of that. And I was just a tomboy girl trying to figure out who I am, when you're a little girl. And I tried like, dance class, ceramics, whatever. I tried karate because they were taking karate. And I wasn't that good at sports per se. I didn't really like it, even. And when he started guitar, and then my mom was like, "Oh, I'm going to try too," because she liked like Joni Mitchell and I was like, well, my mom's trying, so I guess
Right.
it's okay for girls to do. I don't know. It was kind of so I started playing, and I just had like a really good connection to it. I didn't have to practice. Well, I'm sorry. Nobody had to tell me to practice. I practiced a lot. um, yeah, let me restate that. I practiced all the time, and the fact is that nobody had to tell me to practice. I wanted to do it. I wanted to be good at it. I wanted it to be right. And I hadn't found up until that point anything that inspired me as much as the guitar. I did try like clarinet and other instruments, and it just
Okay.
yeah. Meanwhile, my brother is now a dentist, and my mom continued in her librarian career. So
Okay, but you've managed to like travel all over the country, internationally, and
yeah,
you were
I
just
mean,
like,
I
wow.
didn't know it was going to become a career. I mean, I was dead set on college, and come from an educational type of family, and everybody went to college and all of that. And I went to UCLA for a little while, and then the band that I got in high school, we got a record deal, and I just I kind of felt like I had to make a choice, and luckily I have just really very liberal, open-minded parents that supported my decision, and they could see that I was passionate, and I was good at it. And so they're like, you wanna leave college? We're behind you.
So did you feel like this was like a dream that you wanted to have, or was it just like an opportunity? You're like, yeah, okay, I'll go for it.
No, I was a little bit, yeah, you know, I would look at my brother's rock posters, on his wall, and I kind of wanted to, I liked that. I wanted to be like that. Mind you, back then, there were not very many female rockers.
No, yeah.
No. So my inspiration female wise was really the girls from Heart, who I ended up doing some work with. That's where I would say some of my dreams came true, for instance, working with your heroes, and then also I would watch, these movies or something where they showed the band, in a big, like, arena, and I'd gone to a few concerts too. And that was sort of a dream also. And I did get to do that, and so it's sort of like you have these dreams growing up, and sometimes like they work out, but not exactly the same, the way that you think they're going to work out, right? It wasn't like my own solo project that was playing a big arena. It was when I was, a hired gun in Lindsey Buckingham's band or these other bands. And I just tell my students and other people that I talk to, you just have to have some kind of dreams because you don't know how it's going to work out, right?
Right.
You just got to keep moving forward and keep working. And I got to tell you, I got that from my parents. My parents, because there were down points where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, what am I doing, and they're just like, especially my dad, and he passed away in August, and I miss him a lot. And he was really like my, just do your best and keep working. The Robin family, we're like turtles. Things come late, because we try to do the right thing and we work hard. You're not going to cheat yourself or cheat anybody. Do the right thing and keep working, and it'll come to you. And I'm like, okay, some things came to me for sure. I still want more,
Good. Well, so all right. So when you were a kid and you were playing, what was that dream that you had? You know,
I would say definitely like I wanted to be on stage.
okay.
I wanted to be in a rock band, and I wanted to be on stage. And I realized at that point I was a performer, like definitely a performer. And I actually started acting when I was like 13 and 14. I had this sort of, two-path career that was going on. And the reason I started acting was I auditioned for this pilot TV show that they needed a band, like a teenage band in, and the producer of the show was like, I think you could be an actor. We're going to write a part for you in this pilot. And, and I was like, what? So I was like, okay. And I did the acting thing for a while. And then I had to make another decision between music and acting. So I dropped the acting. But I think that just showed me that I'm a performer. I like to entertain people. And I think my choice of entertainment, my vehicle is the guitar and music.
So when you were a teenager with this band, Precious
Yeah.
Metal, right?
Right.
Did you write the music too, or
So
how?
the band wrote together very often, but mostly it was like the singer and me and the other guitarist. Sometimes it would be the singer and the bass player and me. Almost every time I was involved in the writing, and that was when I started learning how to write songs. I did write my own songs when I was little, but you don't know what they are. You don't know what you're doing, and that band really, groomed me for a lot of things in the business. And the singer in that band actually had like a #1 hit in Australia. So she knew what she was doing. And I got to say, Leslie Knauer, that's her name. I learned really a lot from her about how to put a song together and melody and repetition and all these things, And yeah, that was at 16. Our first gig actually was at my high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For full dance, or was it for?
No, it was like a lunchtime concert on
Oh,
the
fun!
quad, Yeah.
How exciting would that!
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was really fun. Yeah. And, I grew up in LA, so it was in the valley, at
Yeah, it's like,
high
oh
school.
my God, well, yeah, I'm in Studio City, so it's like I'm like right there. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to Grant. That's in Van Nuys. So I grew up in North Hollywood.
Oh, that's so cool. So what made you decide to stay here, stay in the LA area? I mean,
Absolutely the business. The entertainment business is here. Okay. If you want to be on Broadway, it's in New York. So, if you want to do country music at that time, it was in Nashville. Nashville's opened up a bit more, but I just felt like the acting and the music business was here.
Yeah.
So I just, I wasn't going to move away for college, and where am I going to go? Everything's here. And a lot of great musicians are here. So yeah, I have not left. And so far.
So what was it like being part of a female, I mean, all female band during
Yeah.
the time period when there were so, I mean,
Few.
all these, yeah, so few.
There were some, like the Go-Go's, the Bangles started happening. Of course, prior to that, like in the late 70s, mid 70s, there was the Runaways, right, with Joan Jett and Cherie Currie. And I did hear of them. Female energy, I mean, we're great, but we're complicated. It's complicated. And I had actually answered an ad for Precious Metal because it was an all-female band. Because prior to that, I was playing with all these guys, and they either were intimidated by me and would just give me a lot of shit, on purpose. Can I say that language on here?
Yes, say whatever you want.
Okay, good, because my mouth just, 30 years of rock and roll. Or they wanted to date me, or they didn't take me serious. So I was like, I've had it with these fucking guys, like, fuck this, and I saw an ad for an all-girl band. I was like, this is good. This is going to be good.
Right.
And it really was. We were like sisters, a sisterhood. But we're complicated, there's crying and a lot of talking involved. You know how women are,
Talk things through, right?
We talk a lot of things through.
We cry things through, yeah.
We cry, we think about a lot of things. But yeah, look, 6-7 years of my life I was in that band, and it was a sisterhood. There was a lot of strength there. And frankly, I didn't grow up with sisters. I had 2 older brothers that really, when they were younger, could give a shit about me, and they were like, you can't play with us, and you can't, I was the youngest.
Right.
And the only girl. So it was really nice kind of to have all those sisters in a way.
So when did you break off and work with the Lindsey Buckingham?
Well, so we did our last record in like 1989, and it's really funny because our last single from that record was called Mr. Big Stuff, and we actually shot a video with Donald Trump. I don't know if you read about that.
I did. Okay, definitely tell that story. You have to.
Well, I mean, without getting too political, he hasn't changed. What happened was, he agreed to do the video for a certain amount of money, and it was all supposed to be sort of fun, like he's Mr. Big Stuff, and we're the band, and not making fun of him, just like he, let's play along together with this whole thing. And at that point, he really was like a tabloid personality, and he was eating it all up. You know what I mean? And he was friends with our record label president at the time, and we shot the video. We went to New York and, went to his office, and the whole thing was very exciting, and there was press and all that. And I do have to say, he did a little bit of a, under the boob, hand, I don't know what you call it, and he's like,
inappropriate touching.
Yeah, inappropriate touching. And yeah, I mean, he didn't touch my boob, but it was underneath. And then he's like, oh, you got a tight body, no cellulite there. And I'm like, okay, what? And I'm just like 20 years old, I'm like, and you don't know what to do,
Yeah, I was like, what?
Right. But, that was weird. But the video shoot was fun, and he was a real good sport about it. And he knew it was sort of like kind of making fun of him, but not in a cute way, And the song was cool. It's a cover, Mr. Big Stuff. That's a Motown song. And we like rocked it up, and it came out great. And just before we were going to, release it, he called the label and he's like, I want more money. He wanted like $100,000 more or some crazy shit like that. And there was some backstory, going on between the label president and him, there's some business dealing between their family and him that was also going on. And we feel like we got caught in the middle, and because that deal didn't go well, we kind of got caught in the middle, and he, he pulled out. He's like, you can't release that. Of course I have the footage.
Yes.
I have the original footage. So we had to reshoot it with a double.
Wow.
Which was not near as cool as having Donald Trump in the band, and for the video, and at the time, and that was really going to break our band. And this was our last, we were really giving it all. We had these awesome producers. We wrote songs with Anna Nancy Wilson from Heart. We had the bass player from Cheap Trick, guest on it. We had this song that Donald Trump was going to be in, and 1990, new decade, and he pulls out, and it's just everything happened all at once. He pulled out, MTV decided not to, premiere it anymore, because he wasn't in it.
Oh, wow.
So we lost that promotion, and then, along comes Nirvana and Soundgarden and the radio stations were changing to this new grunge, and no more of this we were like glam metal. They dropped everybody on the rosters of these big radio stations, and even though we weren't getting that much play, that was it. And then our label dropped us.
Wow, what an experience! Oh my God! All right, so but. What a great story.
It's a great ending in a way to a very great experience in a lot of ways for me. When you look back, you can really see these things, right? And when you're in it, you're like, no, why is this happening? And I don't want to break up. We really did. We tried our best, and we decided, we're just going to go our separate ways. I started a band. The singer and I started a little pop rock kind of band, and at the same time I got a call for an audition with Lindsey Buckingham for his first solo band. Right. He had left Fleetwood Mac at that time. He's left Fleetwood Mac a million times, but that was the first time he left. Right. And he spent years making this new solo record, and he really wanted to go on the road as Lindsey Buckingham, right? And he wanted a special band. He wanted to have this guitar army, because he's, known as a guitarist, and he really layers a lot of guitar parts on his records. He's very musical, and he's like a symphonic arranger, and he puts all these percussion parts. And so he wanted a 10-piece band, wow. 5 guitar players, 2 percussionists, a drummer, keys, and bass. And I got a call because the guy that worked at our previous label started working for this sort of music agent that helped put people in side men into bands. And he was specifically looking for women and men. He had already got the guys, but the reason he wanted female guitarists is because he also wanted female voices.
Oh, good. Okay.
So he wanted... which makes sense. If you're going to hire background singers, why not have them play something?
Right, yeah.
Especially with him, because he really layers his parts. And that was the beginning of, I would say, my going into a master's degree program. You know what I mean? I had college with precious metal, and now I'm going into the master's degree thing where, things went up from here to here. And I had never been really a hired gun. I had a couple one-offs with some things, but where you're actually getting paid to do this job, and it's not your music. Wow. So that was a really huge turning point in my life. And I got to say, probably the best thing that ever happened to me was working with him. And he's tough. He comes from that 70s perfectionist vibe.
Right.
Probably from doing cocaine all night and staying up and making sure it's perfect. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. Really. I mean, that's why they did it. It's how many takes can you take until it's perfect? Well, whatever it takes. You take as many takes as you can. And so, in our rehearsals, he was recording each one of us on separate tracks, and we didn't know it. And he would be listening to our rehearsals, and at one point he sat down with several of us, including me, And he would say, you know, you're off pitch singing on this part. Your time is not good on this song and that part. And if you don't fix this, I'm going to fire you. I mean, like he didn't say fire. He said, I'm going to replace you. And I think and I always tell this story, but I think that's the reason I'm on anxiety medication now. You know, because I'd had stress before, like you got to get it right, but it was always our music, right? It's a little different, right? When
Right.
somebody's paying you for their music, it's a job.
Right.
Yeah. So I really got my shit together and I whipped myself into a hired gun pro vibe. You know, I spent all my money on vocal lessons, guitar lessons. I went back to guitar lessons. I was, you know, working with tapes, you know, practicing and because we were going to be on Leno and he wanted it perfect. Why
Wow.
not? He should have it perfect.
So when were you on Leno?
This is like 92.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Nice.
mean, I literally, like, I got the gig, and then 2 weeks later, we were on Leno. And within that 2 week period, you
Yeah.
know, I lost my shit. I mean, I was like, I wasn't sleeping, and I was like, I mean, it was crazy. You know, it's like boot camp, I suppose, in the army. You
Wow.
know, where it's just like you know, and that was really good, and I was at the right age for that. You know, 23 or something.
So that was the Jay Leno when he was doing the Tonight Show, right?
Yeah,
So you were
yeah,
in front of millions of people
yes.
performing.
Yes.
That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, on TV, you know, I'd never been on that kind of TV program. I mean, some acting stuff, yeah, but it was nerve-wracking, you know. And he's a perfectionist, and he does not accept anything but the best,
Yeah.
you know. And so that just was a huge turning point. And then, of course, um, you know, we all got our shit together. He purposely picked people that he didn't know and he wanted new talent.
Right.
You know, often people interview him about that particular band, which he calls the big band. He just wanted new talent. I think new people, fresh, new, and he literally taught each of us all the parts. So I mean, it's like I was in, you know, my master's degree program at Harvard and Beethoven was my teacher.
Oh,
You know what I
wow.
mean? It
Yeah.
was kind of like that. And I didn't know that at the time because I was so stressed out, you know? But that's when I think back on it, I think that's what it was like. And what a blessing to have that. And there's a reason why. And I think it's just because I am always a hard worker and I want it right too. And maybe, you know, in precious metal we slacked a little. I don't know. Who knows, you know? We broke up at the right time. I got that gig at the right time and I got a kick in the ass at the right time. Right? And it really humbled me. It really humbled me. Years later, you know, I still see him every once in a while.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and email every once in a while. And you know, I went to one of his shows like a few years back, and I just said, you know, I just want to thank you, you know, for that time when you busted my ass, you know. And he's like, I knew you could rise to the occasion, you know. Isn't that what all of this is about, you know? And like, what a cool thing to say. Like, he's a fucking huge rock star, but
Right.
he's a mentor. And frankly, after the Buckingham gig ended, he's the one who pushed me to do my solo stuff. He's the one.
Wow, that's great.
Pushed me, why don't you write your own songs? Because we would jam and I would always be starting the jams. And actually, one time I sat down with him alone and did some writing. And you know, he's like, "Send me your demos. You know, I'll tell you what I think." And he tells you what he thinks. You know, but that was also the first time I started singing lead. You know, so there was a lot of firsts that happened in Buckingham's band and happened for me after. And so I just look at that time period as just a huge, just, I'm so grateful for it. Even though it was like a really hard time in my life, really, really grateful.
So what would you say was the most memorable experience you had with that? Or did you have
You know, yeah, well, there's so many. I mean, that story I told you, that's memorable
yeah.
about him listening to,
Wow,
you know,
that's awesome.
like, what the fuck, you know? Um, we did a lot of cool we had a lot of fun together. After that initial like boot camp period, the band really gelled together and we were like a family. And I think he actually would say that. He's like, I've got a new family now, you know, because he had been in Fleetwood Mac for years and that was like his family. But now he felt like he had a new one. And we would go to his house and jam and, you know, drink and, you know,
Yeah.
have fun. But one of the best experiences is when he took the entire band to Maui and he rented out the lounge there, the bar lounge. There's several lounges, but he literally bought out 2 weeks of time at the bar lounge, so it was closed off to the public, and flew in all this fucking recording gear, thousands and thousands of dollars of recording gear, and he wanted to experiment with the band to see if we could do any writing together and to see if there could be an album that could come out of it. And actually, there were things that came out of it, but they ended up on Fleetwood Mac record. They ended up on the next Fleetwood Mac record that he ended up getting back with him. Yeah, the first reunion. Just bits of it. Nothing I would say, oh, I wrote that part. You know, it was nothing like that. But what a cool thing. I mean, it was like we all had our own rooms. We were in a really nice resort. Every day consisted of getting up and going snorkeling for like an hour or so, then heading to the studio and working from like 12 until about 5 or 6, then getting ready for dinner.
Wow.
And we'd all go together, including with him.
Wow. That's so. Now, do you guys tour together too? Right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
How long do you guys tour?
before that, I would say the other memorable period before that was opening for Tina Turner for 6 weeks.
Oh my God, that must have been so awesome.
That was another, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I never seen anybody perform like that. I knew who she was, but I literally was standing, you know, after we opened, usually the band goes away, right? I'm standing on the side of the stage because I want to take in as much of this shit as I can. And she is a bad ass. She's a fucking badass. And I remember me and Lisa, we were the two girls in the band. We would just stand there and just watch her. And every night she did everything the same way.
Yeah.
The same clothes, the same moves, say the same thing. That's what you do when you do a show. You know, it's like a theater show. And she killed it every night. And she had like 20-year-old dancers next to her. They could barely keep up with her. And she just nailed it every night. And you know, it came to the point where we were ending the tour and we had not met her yet. And so I remember the two of us going to her manager and saying, we'd like to meet her and say hi and thank you for the tour. And he said, sure. And I remember walking into her dressing room and feeling like, walking towards her and feeling like there was this like, you know, like an angel glow, like I'm walking in to see the queen or something, you know? And we were both like, and she turned around to, hi, ladies, hi, you know, with her voice and everything. And she's like, I think it's great that he has female players, you know, in the band. Because she's all woman, you know.
Yeah.
She's like for the woman. And we're like, oh, yeah, we're having a great time. And, you know, your show is amazing. Well, I'm glad you were on the tour. And, you know, and nice to meet you. And, you know, no iPhones back then. Like, where's the fucking picture?
Right, exactly.
Where was my, like, Insta camera from CVS? Damn it, you know? And our last show with her was at Radio City Music Hall. So that was amazing, too. What an iconic venue. And really, that was the first band that I got to play arenas. So, you know, I stepped out on arenas, you know, these, 20,000 people in these arenas. And the roar of people, it was literally the first time it happened, it scared me. It was so like, and you can't see anybody.
Right, yeah.
Like, but there's thousands of people out there. And it's not even my band. It's Lindsay's band, you know? So I was like, okay, well, this is my dream. You know, my dream's happening. So, you know, just do your job, you know, do your job, of course. And that was just, I was eating up everything I could. I was just like a sponge, during that tour. Prior to that tour, we had our own smaller tour where we were playing like the Wiltern size theaters,
Right.
smaller venues like 2,000 seaters and stuff like that, which was also very exciting. So two full tours with him, and then after those tours was when we went to Hawaii.
Wow. All right. So,
There's a lot. There's a lot, Sophia.
which is so exciting. Oh my gosh. Being this female guitarist, I mean, you're part of it. You're part of like this magic happening. And I know all the stuff that goes on in between, I mean,
Oh, you have no idea. Yeah.
I'm just like,
You have no, I mean, even I skipped so much, in Precious Metal, just the misogyny that went on, getting that band off the ledge. Just, MDs from radio stations saying, I'm sorry, we already have on our roster a female singer. We can't add another band with a female singer. And we're like, why?
yeah, why? Oh, because they're pricks. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they literally said that to us. And then other things, people doing rude things in the audience, rude, like
yeah.
sickles, throwing tampons on stage. It didn't happen all the time. It just, every once in a while, just very, misogynistic stuff. And I got to say, with Lindsay's band, I'm sure we were being paid a little less than the other guys, but those two other guys had more experience than we did. So I understand if that's the case, but he never treated me less than.
Well, that's good. Well,
He respected me a lot. There was no weirdness or anything that went on that bit. If anything, there was kind of a mutual attraction. And I mean, I'm married to a woman now, so what? And I think I was well, first of all, he's very good looking, isn't he? Back then, especially, he was very good looking.
Especially, yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was very good looking, and we really connected on guitar. We just had this passion for guitar and performing, and there were often times in the band that he featured me.
Wow, that's great.
And the band was supportive because we were like a volcano, like we would like do these things with the guitar and then we would roll on the floor and he was like rolling on top of me. And that was, when I think about it, I think, okay, like you wrestle, and so, yeah, but you don't fuck your boss. I mean, that's, you don't do that.
It's probably better if you don't.
Actually at the time I was in a long-term relationship with another woman. So, but it really opened my mind to a lot of things, just a lot of things. You think you're one way. There is no one way.
Well, but I was thinking, when you're playing the music, you become part of the music.
You do. And I felt his music so much. I grew up with Fleetwood Mac. How can you not like those songs? I mean, yeah. And he's so fucking good. I mean, he's literally one of the best guitar players ever. And guitar is my world. So we just collided together. And I think there was definitely a mutual respect and a little bit of some kind of attraction, I mean, maybe it wasn't really sexual, but it felt like that. I don't know, in some way, but I think it was more like I felt comfortable with him. I felt really comfortable with him.
He was seeing you as an equal.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That's sexy.
Yeah.
When you are with someone and you're both
like him. Yeah.
I mean, it goes beyond physical.
Right.
So yeah.
I never heard it put that way, but in some ways I guess it felt like that. And so that was really, like I said, I grew up in that band, that project,
So you're having these experiences. How did your dream shift? How did it change?
It shifted because, that gig died down and there was talk of a Fleetwood Mac reunion and he hadn't been with them in 10 years. And there was big money involved. And he literally came to a party for my girlfriend I was with at the time, showed up at her house, I'm like, I invited him and then he came.
Wow.
Okay. And he pulled me aside. He said, I just want to let you know that I'm going back to Fleetwood Mac. There's a lot of money involved. We're all going to make good money. It's been 10 years since I've been with them. And we're putting some of our, arguments aside and we're making a new record and having a big reunion tour. And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of the end of this thing, which is fine. But at the same time, he had been sort of, grooming me to go out on my own.
Yeah.
you know, and he's encouraged me to write my own songs, start singing more lead. And my vocals got way better in his band too, because, you know, Precious Metal, we did a lot of background singing, but it was like, you know, rock, 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 you know, it's like, you know, not so exact, you know, and I'd never like really focused so much on being a lead singer.
Right.
So he was helping me with that. And, you know, the phone wasn't ringing off the hook. But I did get a call, you know, like about a year after that gig ended, for an audition, you know, for a band. And you know, I was really in the midst of doing my own stuff, and I wanted to be like Ani DeFranco. I wanted to get out on the road and book my own shit. And, you know, it was the mid 90s when it's like Lilith Fair, you know, do you remember that whole time? Like, no, the Lilith Fair was a big female festival. Like Sheryl Crow was in it, the Indigo
Oh,
Girls,
okay. Yeah.
Sarah McLachlan, she put it together, right? And it was that time, and I was like, I want to do that. You know, I want to go on the road and be the one woman troubadour girl. And I did get a call for an audition, and, you know, I turned it down. And, you know, at the time, nobody knew who she was, but, you know, the audition, you know, he's like, there's this new artist. She just got signed. Her record's really great. And we're auditioning guitar players. She's open to a woman, and her name's Alanis Morissette. And I was like, yeah, who? You know, what? Who? No, I'm busy with my own shit. I mean,
But good for you, though. I mean, you know, because you know,
yeah, but look what, I mean, she blew up. She literally blew up. And I'm like playing in a coffee house, you know, somewhere on the West Coast. But that was meant to be too, because it led me to other things. And my time being a hired gun was not over. It just wasn't right at that time, you know. And I was getting all this support, including support from Lindsay. So that was making me feel like, you know what, maybe I should, if I'm going to hustle for gigs, I should hustle for my own gigs.
right.
You know, do I want to always be chasing the next sideman gig, or do I want to really dive deep and become an artist?
Right.
And his validation
Mhm.
meant everything to me. So I started doing all that, and that brings you to like 1997, 98, when I first released my own CD, you know, and paid for it. And, you know, but this is right when the internet is happening. So slowly, you know, mostly still calling venues, you know, or sending them packages in the mail and trying to put your own tour together. I had no agent, no manager, nobody.
Well, talk about stress. You know, adding on the stress.
Yeah, but got the control. And Ani DeFranco at that point, and Jules Olbiol, these people, Michelle Schock, who I later worked with, those people were out there doing it on their own.
Yeah,
You know, so I was like, well, fuck it. If they're doing it, I can do it.
and you did.
Yeah, I did. You know, I didn't get as big of a following as some of these other ladies did, but it really, again, changed me. I never really traveled alone like that, driven alone, rented cars, driving from, you know, venue to venue, staying in a hotel room alone, you know, all these things, carrying my gear, hawking CDs, you know, at the shows. There's a
Right.
lot of work organizing how, you know, what, mapping it out, right? The mileage and am I going to make enough money to pay for this and that? And, you know, so that was another time period in my life. And I kept doing that, releasing CD after CD. And eventually I did get another call, you know, Meredith Brooks called me. And I said yes to that because she was also very cool. She knew I was doing my own thing. And she's like, you know what, bring your CDs on the road and you can sell them.
Nice.
And we were opening for Melissa Etheridge, and she's like, sell them at the merch table. And I was like, well, nobody's gonna know who I am. I'm just in your band. She's like, you don't know, you know, we do things on stage together. There might be like, who's that chick in my band, you know? And I was like, wow, she's being really supportive, you know? And then she said, there are holes in this tour where I'm gonna do the band, the Meredith Brooks band, is gonna do a solo gig, you know, like at a small club. And she's like, I want you to open for me.
Nice.
I was like, really? She's like, yeah, that way you get to do your own thing and sell your CDs, and then you play in my band. I was like,
Sure.
okay. So that also showed me it's not always black and white. It doesn't always have to be black and white, one or the other.
Exactly.
Choose this or that. I grew up with a lot of that, and especially in the business, and like my acting agent saying to me, it's music or acting. Back then it was sort of like that. Now, of course, they want you to do everything.
Right.
Back there then though, she's like, I'm sorry, you're going on the road and you're missing auditions, and it's you choose it. And I'm like, you're going to ask me to choose, then I'm choosing music. It's just as simple as that. So I did. But anyway, yeah. So it led me to, Meredith Brooks, and then Michelle Schacht and Air Supply and these other sideman gigs. And I was still able to do my stuff in between. And I did take it to Europe, because the money and the exposure wasn't as good as I thought it could be for me. And I really wanted to find that audience. And, it's a long story of how I got into the European market, but I finally made it out there, and it just another turning point where it changed, my life. And suddenly I was on like Good Morning Prague, or the cover of their biggest magazine in the Czech Republic, music magazine, and I was getting interviews and playing big festivals and, making some money. And I was like, you know what? If my career's in Europe, fine.
Right.
Fine. You know what? I mean, I was, older at that point, 40 or something. I don't know how old I was. Yeah.
Age doesn't matter. You're
Yeah,
just
like between my 35, 40-ish time, 40s. And I was like, people in America, and look, I love America. It's just the music business out here is categorizing.
right.
What style of music do you play? Are you a male or a female? What do you do with a female guitarist? What do you mean? What do you do with a female guitarist? What's the difference? But it's literally a category in many people's mind.
It's about the music. It's not about the music.
I always say, when you listen to a record, can you tell if it's a male or female playing guitar? You cannot.
Wow.
You cannot. You can tell vocally, but you cannot by the guitar. But it is a category, for better or worse. In some ways, it helped me. In other ways, it was like, oh, this is annoying. But everything's so categorizing, and we're a youth culture. You're 30, 35, 36, you're too old to get a record deal. Too old.
Oh, wow.
I literally had managers say that to me.
Wow.
So I was like, fuck it, I have my own label. I'm going to keep releasing my own records.
Yes. And
Which is what Ani DeFranco and Michelle Schacht and all these other ladies that I admired, did. And so yeah, I took it to Europe. 10 years I toured there.
Wow.
All over Germany, France, Czech Republic. I never did Italy, but mostly those three, and UK.
Wow.
And I did okay. I wasn't like, the next, Sheryl Crow, but I did okay. And I was like summer tours and sometimes the spring. One time I went in the winter, and I did open for a few bigger artists out there. Like one of the biggest, Czech Republic artists. I did a whole tour with her, and we went to Slovakia, and we went to a lot of different places. It was, again, another, like, there's a bigger world out there than the United States.
Right.
I mean, we are kind of in a bubble here,
So when you're touring Europe, what was the language barrier like? I mean,
Not a problem ever. And I really like, most people speak English, but if they don't, I made my show like almost half comedy. I did a lot of, first of all, music's universal. And this is the other thing. Europeans, if they like you for life.
Really good.
They're just, yeah, they don't care how old you are. They really don't care if you're gay, Jewish, or
Right.
Democrat, whatever. I mean, all the things that people have issues with often out here touring,
Why? I have no idea.
I don't, not everybody. Mostly it was okay here, but they don't look at it there that way because they grow up with art and music and culture.
Yeah.
It's all around them, isn't it?
Which
I
is
mean, the architecture is all around them. So if they like your music and they respect your hard work on your instrument, they just they just love you, and they stick by you. And I would try to speak in their language and say things, and it was always with a funny accent, and they appreciated I was trying to do it, but they would laugh. And I would just, it's how you present yourself on stage. That's also, like, you can see any performance, even if it's in another language, but if you present it in a way where you're inclusive and you're including the audience, and you're pulling them into your thing, it doesn't matter if you don't speak the same language.
All right. So that energy flow, yeah.
And it was that energy, and I put a lot of energy into my shows, and I showed off my guitar playing. My vocals were as good as they could be. I am not really, I would never call myself, a true vocalist, like in the sense of, like, I'm not like Whitney Houston or say, I've got like a character voice, and I did my best with it. But people came to see me because I put on a show, and my guitar playing was, I think, really engaging.
Yeah. Well, the passion's everything, when
The passion. Yeah, I think Europeans love passion.
Yes.
They love it, and that's why things went really well for me there. And I took it as far as I could, and I started feeling like, where's this gonna go? What's next for me? Segue into my vocals. I was having trouble with my voice on one of the tours, and I was losing my voice. And I, came home to find out I had, a cyst growing on my vocal cord.
Wow.
And, I had to have surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you either don't have surgery and hope that you can sort of still sing and it doesn't grow, or you have surgery, and
Right.
they anytime they cut into anything, it leaves a scar.
Right.
It doesn't matter how good the surgeon is,
Oh.
and it can change your voice. But if I didn't treat it, I didn't have the surgery, it could have like exploded, and it could have turned into a granuloma or something really, like, very bad. So I did it, and that's when I started thinking, okay, I mean, I can try to keep doing this with the singing. Maybe I should do instrumental stuff, and then I was like, what about an instrumental band? What, like, and then I was like, Lindsay's band, we had 5 guitar players, and that was kind of cool, the arrangements. And then so that parlayed into, what I'm in now, the String Revolution. And I'm still singing a little bit, but, I haven't booked a full-on tour since 2017, I think, 2018.
Then we had the global pandemic that shut everything
Then,
down.
yes, and then the pandemic came, and, I had started in 2015, 16, the String Revolution. That was around the time I had trouble with my voice, was like 13, 14.
Okay.
Yeah, 2013, 14. And I decided to start another project. And yeah, so I was like, a project that doesn't need to have singing, but how can I make this also engaging and not like we're all at Guitar Center noodling? Who wants to listen to that, So I really wanted something that was focused on songwriting where the melodies are being played by a guitar, and the other guitarists are supporting that melody, either like a drummer on guitar, or I'm playing a bass type of guitar, and then the other one's playing the rhythm, so that you have sort of a band without those instruments. It's all being created by guitars, and that was my vision for the String Revolution.
And you made it happen.
We did make it happen. Yeah, we did. And we did a lot of cool things. And I know you came to one of the shows, and I met you with one of the guys from the String Revolution at the Grammy thing, and that was my first Grammy party I'd ever been to. I had just joined the Recording Academy.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, we just like chance meeting.
I know, that wasn't cool. Yeah. I remember I thought, wow, she looks so cool. Her hair was long, and you had that rocker vibe. I loved it. That was like so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that when you guys played, that was awesome. I really enjoyed it. You know, just
Thank you.
that was night. I wish I could have gone with a different person.
Well,
And
it's funny because that guy's from a pretty big record label, you know.
yeah,
But he's not such a good
yeah, we
guy.
won't go there.
Ah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
That's all right. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah, so my focus has been on the string revolution mainly. I still do some writing with people, who are singers. And I've done some sessions. I still do that as well. I'll get called for a session, Of course that happened, you know, during the pandemic when people were home doing nothing. I also put a little more time and effort into teaching,
okay.
especially over the pandemic because I had to. All of our gigs were canceled, and uh, I was continuing working on yet another project called Blues Renewed, and that's gonna take place of my solo career for a little while. It's a recording project which I will be turning into a live one woman band show. But basically, it's taking these really old blues recordings from like the 1920s, like with the scratchy, right? And these amazing performers. Some people would know who they are, and some people would not know. Some of them are like recordings from prisons,
Oh,
you know, railroad, working on these chants and shit that are so cool. And it's the birth of blues. It's the birth of rock and roll. Okay, so the birth of blues, which of course we all know, rock and roll, came from blues.
right.
So did jazz. So yeah, it's the blues, right? Post slavery, early 20th century, and I am playing instrumentation on top of those records to bring out those songs in a more just a more modern way. I'm not turning them into like EDM dance tracks. I'm supporting those records that are mainly guitar and vocal and cleaning up the tracks as much as you can so we can hear them, even though they're like, and then I'm putting guitar, drums, bass,
Wow.
sometimes extra vocals. So I'm still singing a little bit and trying to do it in as classy as possible to meet the vibe of each song. And I'm doing 20 songs, volume 1, volume 2. And many of them are from, the Library of Congress, and I got their approval. And so, so there's a lot of publishing and mastering and, approvals involved in all of this. But
So where are you doing this all at?
at home,
Oh,
right?
perfect.
Right here. And I'm doing, I got a Pro Tools studio here and I'm playing all the instruments.
Oh,
And when I mean instruments, I mean like sometimes the drum is, my pillow, and it's like boom, boom, close mic it. Yeah, sure, I use sometimes electronic drums, but I'm not a drummer. I'm just feeling the groove, and they're, so I'm really trying to make minimal arrangements, but it's still like you can hear the song one way, and then when you hear my arrangements, it brings it up. Sure, you always have that, but why not, bring out the song a little more and bring these out to a new audience
Perfect. No,
that would therefore never hear these songs.
right. Exactly. That sounds brilliant.
So
What's the title of it going to be?
Blues Renewed,
Blues Renewed. Okay, I love it.
Volume 1, Volume 2.
So you're working on that, and
Yeah.
how much time do you think? How much time would you give yourself for something like that?
Well, it's already been 4 years I've been doing it because remember, I was touring a little bit on my solo thing and then String Revolution. And so I have to do it in between things. And actually right now I am mixing some stuff now. I think I need another year really to finalize the mixes, to get it properly mastered, and then to really think about how do I want to present it live, because I think it can also be educational.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah.
Let's teach the public where you might hear this, one guitar riff and you guys have heard it in so many songs. Well, it's not a Led Zeppelin riff. It came from, these guys.
Yeah,
Let's talk about where these things really came from, the birth of rock and roll guitar.
right.
So that's really my focus. And I know I'm just like a white woman doing this shit.
It's about the music.
It is, I got a little backlash from some of the owners who are white, by the way, of some of these songs, saying, "Listen, these black guys didn't get any money for this and that," and I understand that, and you're exploiting them, and I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not looking to make bank from this. Do I want to make some money from it? Well, at least to cover my time and my costs, yeah. But my goal isn't to like exploit them and you know, but they're very protective, and I understand it. But you can be protective and lock these songs away in the closet forever, for nobody ever will hear them, will not understand where these licks came from guitar, will not understand the process of arrangements of blues music, which then went into rock and roll. You can do that, or I can come and bring it out to some people and educate some people.
Well, the fact that you want to do that too,
I want to do it because I'm guitar is my life, and so therefore, what's the history of it, And I'm not talking about classical or flamenco. Then you would have to do like you'd have to go to Europe for that.
right.
I'm talking about rock and roll guitar, which is purely an American invention,
Right.
but it's really a slavery invention. It's from slaves. And they brought that over, and it came out from pain of slavery and prejudice. And this genre came from that, and I can hear it in their voices, because I have to listen very carefully in the headphones in order to match playing them. And it's all out of time and all out of tune. So I am, drinking my wine and listening to these guys, and I'm like, sometimes it's ghostly. Like, I feel like I'm in the fucking room with them. It's really incredible.
Wow.
I just love it. And I am not known as a blues player. I mean, I've never released a blues record in my fucking life.
So awesome. I mean, this is
So, I just wanted to explore that. So I'm doing that. And then the String Revolution, we're going through a few changes right now, but we are going to be coming out with some new stuff. We did release Crazy Train, which my guitar teacher, Randy Rhoads, very famous guitarist, wrote with Ozzy Osbourne many years ago. And we did a new version of that. And that's getting some good traction, on YouTube. And we had this idea of inviting a guest guitarist on that version, and we got Steve Stevens, who plays in Billy Idol's band, amazing guitarist, and that really helped get the song and the video traction, so much so that we're in rotation on Sirius Radio in the instrumental channel.
oh good. That's fantastic.
So
Are you guys gonna start touring again now
yeah,
that
we're looking at that. It was all crazy with the pandemic, and so I think, I mean, if we can get our shit together, maybe fall. It's tough because a lot of venues book like a year ahead. So, if it's not fall, then it'll be for sure next year, like for sure.
right? Well, you guys are great. I mean, just
Thank
super
you.
lively, and it's exciting to listen to. Well, I hope to see you in person again soon, one of these days.
Likewise.
We're both in LA.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for thinking of me.
Of course, you're awesome, and I'm it's like yes. All right, I'm gonna see you again playing live soon too. All right, my dear.
Okay.
All
See
right,
you. Take care. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Ciao.
Bye.